in today's video, we're going to go over some of the problems that the community has been most vocal about, and I'm going to give some of my ideas and solutions to the problem. So stick around, make sure you stay to the end, give us a comment whether you agree with me or not, and we can maybe find some common ground and we can come to a conclusion of what's best for the game. Let's get into it. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mighty Mouth here, back with another video. So, we're going to get into some of the problems. Obviously, the community has been pretty vocal, and there's been some radio silence from GGG, so we're hoping in the coming weeks they shed some light on what they're doing. But for the most part, you have a few problems. Grinding and punishing, directionless mapping, repetitive combat, abrupt transitions, and the crafting and trade kind of feels more like gambling. So, we're going to touch on some of those topics individually and try and break them down and then figure out what we could do to make them better. Complaint number one, the endgame feels grindy, punishing, and RNG heavy. So, what can we do? Maybe you give a reduced death penalty for your first death of the day, or something like that. Maybe you take no XP lost for your first death of the login, or something. Give them something, because how many times have we all done it? We've logged on, we just threw a random map in, we didn't see that it had 3 damage modifiers, we were just eager to get blasting, and it happened to be a Val factory, and one of them dudes with the lightning cannons just obliterates you and you disintegrate into nothingness. So maybe you get one freebie a day. It's a solution. I'm not saying it's a great one, but it is what it is. Now, as far as the end game feeling grindy and RNG based, because a lot of people say it's kind of directionless because you're just on an ever expansive atlas and there's no sense of direction. You can go wherever and the outcome is probably going to be somewhat reasonably the same. You're going to run into some bad maps, you're going to run into some good maps. So maybe you can have more flavor text from Doriani saying like travel east to see this or something. So you travel east and there'll be little clues along the way that will lead you to a unique map. Something that gives you some direction that I don't know how they could do it to program it to maybe it would be unique for each individual atlas. That would be something that you would have to look into. But if that's not something that's possible, maybe just add different objectives to the maps. So not everyone is kill all rares or kill bosses. Maybe you have to escort this NPC to the end of the map so that they can be reunited with their family. Or maybe you have to find these objectives so that you can put them into something so that you can open a treasure chest at the end and it guarantees like a level 20 skill gem, or maybe it's like a 50-50 shot at a divine, or something to that extent. And you could do that at the beginning of each league, so you could have like unique maps with unique tile sets and unique objectives, and you go to Doriani and he tells you like travel east or travel south and find this etching in your atlas. So you'll go until you see like, oh my god, there's that crop circle in the atlas, so we must be close. And I know the blasters aren't going to want to do that. They're just going to want to turn their loot filters on ultra strict and grind for currency or whatever, and that's fine. But I'm talking about the 90% of players that are going to engage with the maps and do the objectives. That's just a thought. So let me know in the comments below if you agree with that. That's all I got on that one, and we'll move on to the next topic. Hopefully I don't get bombarded for that. Now, as for the overdependence on RNG, I don't really have a clear-cut solution for this. I mean, you could add some crafting materials that would give you a little bit more player agency, but I feel like you're walking a fine line there, because if you give too much agency, then ground loot becomes null and void. But most people really aren't picking up ground loot anyways, at least from what I can tell. So it's a finicky subject. For me, I would say maybe you could put in something that reduces the weights of bad modifiers, or you could like introduce something that is kind of like essences, right? But it gives you a higher weight on defensive modifiers for the defensive essence. It gives you a higher weight to roll flat damage modifiers with the battle essence with your next modifiers. So not only does it roll you a flat damage modifier, but you have a higher percent chance for the rest of your prefixes to get damage modifiers, be it maybe a 15% chance or a 10% higher chance, whatever it is, a moderately higher chance. So there's a little bit more agency. If you want chaos damage or cast speed or something like caster modifiers, you could do this with every type of essence. You could do life modifiers, you could do attribute modifiers, and it would give you one and then give you a higher weight for those modifiers in the future rolls of that item to maybe get you what you were trying to achieve. That's one idea. I don't know. Maybe they've already done that in PoE 1. I didn't play it, but someone was explaining something of that sort to me. So that's one option. So another topic people are pretty vocal about is combat dynamics and build diversity. So it puts you into a category where you have to play S tier builds in people's heads because this monster is going to one shot me, so I have to deal X amount of damage to one shot it before it one shots me. So that's why everyone's playing Lightning Spear instead of playing a more Jonathan visionary build like I like to play with reflect builds. The consequence of playing a reflect build is every now and again you're going to get killed because it requires something to hit you in order to deal damage. That's just how it is. And that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with it because I chose that route. But maybe you could put in a more pronounced animation for attacks that would give you a more skill based combat. Like, okay, I see this animation coming, I can get out of the way. I know they're leaning more towards that. They've done a lot of work on that so far, but there's still a ways to go. The on death mechanics that one shot me through 7,500 HP is a little annoying. So with Wind Dancer, you run into a crowd. One thing hits you, it explodes everybody, and they all die instantly. And then you have this blood raining down from the sky, and then you have the pulses, the doo 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 from another mob, and then you have the frost things coming at an arcing angle at you. Maybe we need to just get away from that a little bit. For example, a solution could be if there's AoEs on the ground, they don't stack. Or if there's blood raining down from the sky, they don't stack. You can only get hit by one of them. But as far as skill balance changes, I don't have much on it. I know they're doing a lot. But please buff shouts, buff shouts, buff shouts, and let us dual wield shields. That's all I got. That's all I care about. Please, 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 please figure it out. Add a skill tag for Warcries. Please. That's it. I will say this as far as like for skill balance, maybe make some of the spirit skills not require a martial weapon so that people can use the herald skills and people can use wind dancer and things like that without a martial weapon. Maybe let it scale off of the weapon's damage, but in the absence of the weapon's damage, it has like say you wanted to wield a wand, it would scale 100 damage per gem level or something. But just you would have to modify it from like let's say the upper echelon is 1200 damage on a mace. Then you would scale that by proxy to be a percentage of that for the skill gem level. So at gem level 40, it could be as if it was a 1200 damage mace, even if you weren't wielding one. But at skill gem level 20, it would be like a 450, 500 damage mace, something like that. I don't know how they could program it that way, but man, it would be nice to be able to use spirit skills without having to have a martial weapon because it really makes people using wands or people using shouts, it makes them unable to use the heralds and scale their skills effectively. So that's just one suggestion. The pacing feels like a complete flip from campaign to endgame. That's what people are saying. It's a stark contrast. In the campaign, it teaches you it is okay to make mistakes because you have checkpoints, you can respawn there, and you can just figure it out again. I think that is to get you prepared for the end game. I myself am okay with the contrast, but for the 90% that aren't spending 10 hours a day or 6 hours a day or whatever, maybe it is a little too abrupt, but then again, you do have the option to not put a bunch of modifiers on your map. You don't have to run red maps, but I'm sure some people would like to be able to do that without feeling like they're ramming their head against a bed of nails. But I honestly have no solution that would please everybody, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut on this topic. That's another fight for another day. All right, so we're going to lump all this together. We got the crafting problems, the trade economy problems, and the inequality between solo and group play. So, for one, we need an auction house esque, like Alva esque system where you insert item set at X price, I put in X currency, and it just does the trade for us. Because there's too many people front running the market that are setting the prices way too low, and then they're buying up all the things that people are price checking at that price because they see, oh, there's 20 like this, that must be what it's worth. Now I'm going to buy those. And then this person's actually going to sell them for more, or maybe they don't answer at all. They never sell it. So we need to fix the front running and the price fixing and everything like that. So for the crafting, again, it is what it is. Like I'm sure they're going to put more deterministic crafting, but for real, the economy needs more currency sinks for certain things so that it kind of balances out the value between different currency items. Because you don't have any sinks for exalts, you don't really have any sinks for anything other than chaos orbs and divines. So if we could get something like that, that would be good. But the main issue is the inequality between solo and group play. The reason it's an issue is because solo self-found people, they have an issue finding certain things. The difference between having rarity on your gear and not having rarity on your gear is crazy, and a lot of players can't actually afford to even slip rarity into their gear, so they're at a natural deficit when it comes to engaging in those type of things and gaining currency. So maybe a slight buff to the overall currency drop rate and a rework of rarity is in order. I don't know. But also, party play is basically unplayable on console. There's so many bugs with disconnects, or you can't load into the instance after the second map. You run one map, you're fine. Then when you go to load into the next map, cross playing with someone on PC, it just says cannot load into any instance, and then you're just sitting for 45 minutes. Where there's other people blasting in 6-man parties with a rarity bot, and they're having all this fun, but other people can't engage with that because of all the bugs and stuff. So that's why I say generally optimization and bug fixes are what the game needs the most. But there is also a balance, a yin and yang of you need to be releasing new content to keep the people that this doesn't affect on a daily basis also engaged. So it's kind of a hard balancing act, but I think there needs to be some slight buffs in the solo self-found category. If you're playing solo self-found, you should have like a 50 to 75% increase of currency drops and things of that nature, because who cares? Who does it affect? It just affects you. So just give those people a little bit more currency and maybe increase the drop rate of omens or the spawn rate of omens so that people in solo self-found can actually interact with the mechanic instead of seeing one omen of whittling every 7 weeks or something in a ritual. Even if you've set up an area with 275% increased chance to be omens, you're still not going to see them. So we need increases of those types of things. And I'm not advocating for making solo self-found easier. I'm just saying, come on, give our brothers over there a little slack, up the drop rates a little bit. And I think you could up the drop rates even in the trade realm for the most part because some people they can't blast like everybody else. At least increase the rate of the omens. The worst thing that can happen is people that are blasting are finding a ton of them and they can sell them way cheaper. And then those people that don't find the omens because they don't grind as much can still interact with the mechanic and have some sort of fun when it comes to crafting. Because after all, it could take you two whittlings or it could take you 200 to even hit one moderately good modifier, as I've shown on some of my videos. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. This is getting winded. I'm going to try and keep this below 20 minutes. So even if you don't agree with me, leave me a comment down below. Give us a like. And if you did like what you saw, give us a sub. It helps us. We're trying to grow and do this for a living. So with that, you already know what it is. You are enough. Stay blessed. And as always, stay mouthy. And we'll see you on the next video.